Okay, welcome to Weekday Somatics. I think this is day 12. Let's start with by finding a posture or a position that we can maintain without strain. Looks like my camera's doing something funny, but we're not looking at the camera anyway. Okay, so let's find a posture that we can maintain, or that we think we might reasonably be able to maintain for 20 to 30 minutes, maybe a little longer, without strain, without effort. And what I'd like to invite you to is to find a nice balance. It's an interesting word. An edge. It's another interesting word. Between comfort and discomfort. So comfort and discomfort are, from my perspective, comfort and discomfort are not innate qualities of an experience. They are qualities that we overlay. They come from our conditioned mind. So when I say to find the balance between comfort and discomfort, I'm inviting us to look to our experience and start to differentiate between what is innate and what it is that we bring through our conditioning. So we're starting to look at, in my experience, this is the question that I'm inviting us to look at. In my experience, what is the reality? Maybe I was going to say something else, but maybe we could just leave it at that. What is reality? What is actually real? What is innate? And what is it that I'm bringing and overlaying, taking from the past, projecting? And I've habitually believed that that is true. But right now I can look, and I'm inviting you to look and start to explore what is innate and what is an overlay from the past. So this edge between comfort and discomfort, I find, is really helpful for that exploration. Helps to differentiate between what is innate and what is not. When I get clarity on what is innate, my experience is that it removes all of the unnecessary struggle. Well, let me restate that. It gives me a choice so that I can cease to indulge my reactivity, and I can instead choose to rest. Before, I wasn't able to do that because I was not able to distinguish or differentiate between what is innate and what I am overlaying from the past. So I assumed that what I overlaid from the past was in fact innate. So if I bring from the past that this is comfortable, or if I overlay from the past that this is uncomfortable, and I just accept that that is reality, I don't have a choice. But if I look sincerely and I'm able to distinguish between what is innate and what is an overlay, a reaction, then I have a choice, and that choice is I can choose to rest. And that's really what, let me rephrase that. It's not, that is an important, to me, it's a very important aspect of somatic inquiry. So we're finding a position or a posture that we think we can maintain without strain. I'm sitting, as you can probably see. You are welcome to sit. You're welcome to lie down. You could sit in a chair. You could sit on the floor. You could sit on the couch or sofa, if that's what you call it. Sit however you want. You could recline. You could be upright. You could lie on the floor. You could lie in bed. You could do this in the car if you're in the car. Maybe not while you're driving. Eventually while you're driving, but not right now. So this is a in and of itself, this is a really interesting inquiry to start to take a look at, really honestly, what is my experience? What am I going to be able to, what posture am I going to be able to rest in for 30 minutes? Is there any posture that I could rest in for 30 minutes? Now I'll be honest with you. When I really first started in earnest with this kind of exploration, I wasn't able to find any posture in which I was able to rest for 30 minutes. I couldn't find a posture in which I could rest for even 5 minutes. So maybe you'll find some challenge in that. That's okay. But that's part of the inquiry. So don't give up on it. Don't tune out. Don't check out just because you say, oh, I can't do it. I can't find that posture. I'm too uncomfortable. I have to squirm. I have to writhe. I have to adjust. I have to fix. I have to try and get comfortable. That's okay. Just notice that. And if the experience seems to be overwhelming to you, don't make the mistake of trying harder. Don't push. Don't strain. That's the old way. That's the way of the world. That's the way that we've been taught. And that's the way that has not proved to be satisfying. I hope that that's clear. If that's not clear, then really take a look for yourself and see if that's true, if that's really true in your experience. So I'll suggest sometimes I'll maybe it's a lack of skill in guiding, or a kind of impatience that I have. So I might sometimes just make statements like I just did. And hopefully you can hear those statements in a more skillful way than I've made them. And you can just hear it as an invitation to look and see what is actually true for you, really true. Not true according to your mind, your thoughts, but what is actually true? Is it possible for us to really actually know? Can we really tell the truth? That's another inquiry in and of itself that is really rich. Is it even possible for me to know the truth? And then notice if you pose that question to yourself, is it possible for me to know the truth? Notice what you habitually do in reaction or response to that question. Notice what effort you make. Notice where you look. Can you notice where your attention goes, and can you actually feel the attention go there? Is it in the head? Is it not in the head? Is it to the left? Is it to the right? Is it up? Is it down? So we can start to actually look and see, am I able to actually witness my experience purely as it actually is? So notice when you inquire, when you become curious, when there's a question posed, when there's something that stimulates a novelty, something that comes from outside the conditioned mind, something that points in a new way, what do you do? Observe this, really, right now. Notice, what do you do? Notice, what do the eyes do? Now, I have my eyes closed. I didn't mention that, but whether eyes are opened or closed, can you observe what the eyes are doing in response or reaction to whatever happens or whatever is suggested, or whatever is suggested is a good word, whatever is suggested. So if something is suggested, notice what you do. So I suggest a lot of things, and can you, this is a question, can you remain restfully still and aware of your compulsive reaction to the suggestions? There's a kind of magic that we all probably are familiar with. Stage magic, the magician pulling the rabbit out of the hat. And I think we all know that that kind of magic depends upon suggestibility, distractibility. The magician points in a direction and we look over there. Meanwhile, the magician does something that in some other space where we're not looking, and then calls our attention back, and we say, oh, magic. Well, it was magic because we were unaware. Now, if that magic is something that we find to be truly satisfying, then there's no problem. But if the magic is not satisfying, perhaps it's even painful, or we experience it as painful, then is there something that's available to us to remedy that? And I'm suggesting that we can start to notice our suggestibility and how we compulsively indulge that. So can we remain still, restfully still, and aware of our compulsive habits? So if I say, look to the left, do you look to the left? Can you observe the looking to the left? Can you become aware of that at subtler and subtler levels? What is, I find it's helpful to start, we were a little past the start now, but just to have a reminder or a brief look at what is the intention? Why are we here? Why are we doing this? Now, as I, and hopefully we explore this briefly, continue to see if it's possible for you to remain aware of your suggestibility of your habits of distraction, subtle movement. And without trying to restrain that, can you just remain aware and allow yourself to be aware at subtler and subtler levels? See what happens. Just be curious, what happens if I just remain aware without straining, without restraint, not trying to hold it together. I'm not trying to prevent any kind of movement. I'm not trying to prevent the habit. I'm just wanting to be aware of it at subtler and subtler levels. So continue to explore that as I also now explore briefly the intention for being here. So this is my intention. My intention is to discover a truly new possibility, truly new. As I said before, I have habitually closed myself off from that newness because I've compulsively consulted mechanical memory as my guide for reality. And I've found that to be dissatisfying. That has not given me what I really want. That mechanical reactivity is held together by these, I call them constellations, associations. We could call them impressions. We could call them whatever we want. But they are, I believe that these are, we could say, biochemical, energetic things that are composed of these parts, memories, images, thoughts, sensations. And what I'm wanting to discover, as I say, is this possibility of newness. So in order to discover this possibility of newness, I have to be willing to see truthfully what it is that I'm doing. If I overlook what I'm actually doing, I notice that all I'm really doing in that case is more of the same, more of what I've always done, which, again, the truth is that's been dissatisfying. So when I recognize that all of these strategies that I've employed are failed, I'm not going to get what I actually want by having enough money or having more money or more power or more prestige or more respect or more strength. More so-called knowledge. All of these strategies have failed to actually give me what I want. So I'm looking now to see how it is that I have unconsciously, habitually made effort that is unnecessary in order to to maintain dissatisfaction and to avoid true satisfaction. So we're in this position, and let's see how much we can trust the support. So there's support here. The support is, it has us. Now, hopefully, if you were lying down, that would be really obvious, but maybe it's not. As I said, when I first began with these kinds of inquiries, it certainly was not actually obvious to me that when I was lying down, that the support had me completely. I was still straining. But maybe when lying down, it's easier sometimes to get that clarity that the support has me. The support supports me. I don't need to make any effort when I'm lying down. The bed or the floor or whatever it is that I'm lying on has me completely. I hope we can all start to see that clearly. I don't need to strain in the forehead. I don't need to strain in the nose. I don't need to strain in my mouth or in my throat or in my shoulders or in my chest or anywhere. I'm completely supported. Now, if we're sitting or standing even, then maybe those postures, because of our conditioning, pose a little bit more challenge in discovering that and trusting in that support. So for me, I noticed that when I pose this to myself, this possibility of, can I trust this support fully? Can I really give up effort? Can I really become completely aligned with the stillness? Can I stop the unnecessary squeezing, gripping, clenching, numbness, the unnecessary effort giving attention to thoughts and worries and memories and all of the rest of it? I notice that I have some conditioned objections that arise. Well, I'll fall over. That's the main one. You might have any number of objections. Just observe that you have whatever objections you have, and you might notice these objections manifesting as sensations in the body. Maybe sensations of numbness, some sensations of discomfort, sensations of whatever you notice. And again, you're responsible for finding and telling the truth about that edge. So don't push yourself. Don't strain. Don't think that it's best that you don't physically move. That's not necessarily true. It might be true, but it might not be true. Only you can tell the truth about that. If the experience seems to be overwhelming, well, don't allow yourself to be overwhelmed. Explore whatever it seems to be overwhelm and see, how is it that you do that? How do you do overwhelm? Could you not do that? And if you need to adjust, maybe needs the wrong word, but if adjusting is what's most appropriate for you now, to give yourself space for a fruitful inquiry, then be honest about that and give yourself whatever you need. On the other hand, remember that I'm inviting us to explore this edge between comfort and discomfort. So one way that I find it can be helpful is just to explore this question: could I just remain still for another few seconds, and could I find a little bit more spaciousness and stillness and alignment and restfulness for a few seconds? Even if I'm going to give myself permission to move, to adjust, to change position, could I just explore this posture for a few more seconds and really open and rest? And I'm often surprised to discover that what I thought was true, I thought that I had an urgency, an urgent need to do something, to fix something, to protect myself, to save myself, to help myself. But in fact, I can just rest for a few more seconds, see what happens. I also find it helpful to just notice if my focus is narrow or inclusive, so that I don't tune out certain things or avoid certain sensation or experience. So I just gently welcome all experience, all sensation, awareness of that sensation, and a spaciousness to allow that sensation to be here and for my reactivity to gently soften. So I might have a strong sensation, seemingly, so says my mind, at least in the foot, in the left foot in this case. And maybe I notice that my attention becomes rather narrowly fixated there. And I observe, what is the result of that? Well, seems to be more pushing more into the realm of overwhelm. So let me gently soften and expand that focus to be more inclusive. And maybe I notice what my mind calls the knee, what my mind calls the thigh. And I just notice, what am I doing there? Include what my mind calls the lower abdomen, the buttocks, the lower back, the waist, the upper abdomen, the front of the rib cage, back of the rib cage, the front of the shoulders, the back of the shoulders, the upper arms, the elbows, the lower arms, the wrists, palms, fingers, fingertips, fingernails. The throat, the collarbones, the back of the neck, the back of the head, the tongue, the inside of the cheeks, the outside of the cheeks, the bridge of the nose, the eyebrows, forehead, temples, inside the ears, outside the ears, the scalp just above the ears, the top of the scalp, and I notice whatever images, whatever ideas, whatever presents itself, I just allow that to come and go. And I observe the impulses, the habits of movement, of trying to put myself into the right position, whatever I imagine that is. And I'm just noticing that I can rest. I don't have to do those things. I can become aware of the breathing. Is the breathing fulfilling? Is the experience fulfilling? Is the experience pleasurable? Can I open to the possibility of the breath being effortless and pleasurable? Can I open to the possibility that the breath can move on its own, and that in so doing, it can bring health, pleasure, ease, grace, satisfaction? What is it that I'm doing that, if anything, that interferes with that? How am I still trying? How am I still straining? I notice chronic holding in the front of the abdomen, in the solar plexus, restricting the breath, recognize the compulsive habit to strain against that tension in order to take a deep breath, in quotes. How do I know when it's a deep breath? I just observe those habits, how it is that I think I know something. And is it really what I think it is? If it's really what I think it is, I should be completely satisfied, but am I? So can I allow for this possibility of something truly new, truly outside of my conditioned mind, truly outside of how it is that I habitually hold myself, how I habitually define myself, how I habitually feel myself to be? That's key. So I'll say that again, how I habitually feel myself to be. The truth is, how I habitually feel myself to be is not satisfying. As that is exposed, I am being opened to this new possibility that's outside of how I habitually hold myself, how I habitually feel myself, how I habitually conceive of myself. So we're going to begin to slowly transition. And I'll remind again, observe your suggestibility. Notice how when I say we're going to begin to transition, we're going to begin to transition to what? See, I don't even say what. I don't even know what. But notice the suggestibility. Notice how your conditioned mind maybe thinks it knows the answer, thinks it knows how to do that. Notice what it does. Notice those small compulsive movements. Aren't those small compulsive movements how you habitually feel yourself to be? How you habitually conceive of yourself and know yourself? So what if you don't do those? What if you just observe them? I notice that when I really observe them, it's I become aware that those experiences only exist in potential. They never actually manifest. That's odd. It's very odd because they seem to manifest. But when I'm really still and observant, I notice it's as if they manifest, but they don't. And then I start to see that they never manifest. They're only projected in imagination and drawn from an imaginary past. This is very subtle, but this is possible to see. Not as an idea, but as an actuality. Like this is really a real experience that can be had. So we're going to now begin to transition and just observe how you are suggestible to that. I say that and notice what you do. Don't judge yourself or condemn yourself. Just observe. By becoming aware of these habits, you are no longer bound by them. When you really see that these are merely compulsive habits, they have no power over you. You are not your mechanical habits. You are not your conditioned reactivity. You are not how you have habitually felt yourself to be. Just observe. Now, if you have your eyes closed, begin to explore slowly opening the eyes. And how smooth of a transition can that be? Is it possible for that experience of transition to be so fluid, so effortless, that I'm not even sure that it's happening? Because I'm not even sure that there's even anything that happened or will happen. It's very odd, but this is possible. So just explore that. Can you allow the eyes to open so smoothly, so gently, so effortlessly that you're not even sure that anything is happening? Can you, well, let's actually just explore that possibility for a moment, and then we'll explore some other things. As you slowly open the eyes, assuming that you are exploring this, see if you can just remain still in this posture without strain, so that this becomes so anchored in stillness that there's no disturbance. See if that's possible. Now take your time with that. And when your eyes are open, again, don't rush, but when your eyes are open, continue to remain aware of this rest, this restful stillness, and observe any habits that you might have of how you habitually shift from this awareness of stillness, alignment, and support, to whatever degree that's clear to you in this moment. Notice how you shift habitually from that to your normal waking state. I think this is a very interesting inquiry in and of itself, because if I really observe, I start to notice that I do things that I was not previously consciously aware of, but I can become consciously aware of them. And those are the signals that I give myself that I know who I am, I know where I am, I know what I'm doing, I know what I'm supposed to be doing, I know what my life is, I know how I should be behaving, I know all these things. And I give myself those cues through these activities that I habitually do. But if I just don't indulge them and just remain still restfully still and watching those habits, then I become aware of how it is that I use suddenness and violence to knock myself unconscious. And if I don't do that, then perhaps I simply remain conscious, and I start to be able to notice the difference between awakeness and being asleep. And maybe I start to notice that my whole so-called waking life up to this moment, I thought it was me being awake, but it turns out I was asleep. Because now I start to be clear on what awakeness is. I start to see that awakeness has nothing whatsoever to do with the mechanical habits. For those who are here live, continue to take your time. There's no rush. I am going to end this recording. And for those who are here live, we'll continue with the Q&A and sharing. For anybody who's watching this recording on YouTube or elsewhere, I hope that this has been very helpful to you. Thanks for joining, and hope that you will join again. Bye for now.